Doesn't matter if I'm 25 or not. Like if I've done the work and done the education and can help explore ideas of how, let's say, numbers can empower business decisions, that was a big thing for me.
Welcome to another episode of my podcast, Relentless Life on Your Terms, Season 6. I'm joined today with Jason Robinson. Jason, how are you?
Very good, mate. Great to be here. Excited.
Now, I've known Jason for a few years. We both go to this club of United Business, Entrepreneurs Club. You've got a very interesting journey. You're in an accounting firm. You started your first job at McDonald's at 14 years of age.
Yep.
You met some influential people that you've carried on and worked, and you own a very successful practice now. Tell us a bit about your journey and a bit about your progress to where you are now.
Oh, yeah, geez, a bit to cover, and I don't want to bore everyone, but starting off with that Macca's thing, which is important because my business partner today was my crew trainer when I was 14 years and 9 months, basically wanted a job and started straight away. Met Greg, who had already been there for a little while. He's a year older than me. He was my crew trainer, as I said. Just an influential guy, like just someone who, spoke well, systems and processes, trained me up. I was more of the, kind of not paying attention, whatever, but, laser focus. And then through that journey with Greg, we went to university outside of school. I actually ended up not wanting to be an accountant. The careers advisor said to me, he goes, you're good at numbers, you're good at English. What do you want to be? Had no idea. He goes, why don't you do accounting? I was like, cool, whatever. I think I saw an ad on TV. It might've been for the CPA. And it was like someone in a slick suit driving a BMW and they had the CPA logo. I'm like, shit, that looks all right. Like, I'll do that. Great. And then went through uni and kind of was like, fuck, accounting's boring. Like, and that was kind of the persona and the perception. I'm like, I don't even want to do this. And with 6 months to go in my degree, I actually nearly dropped out to become a police officer, which is so, like, to think back to that now is just so random and bizarre. But yeah, got through that. Fortunately got a job. Greg, again, that influence of a good person, when you surround yourself by good people, good things can happen. And Greg ended up saying to me, he's like, mate, you got 6 months to go to finish your accounting degree. Like, let's just get that done. And again, he was putting those steps in front of me to make sure I kind of stayed on the path that made the most sense in his brain, because he's quite meticulously has things mapped out.
Left brain guy.
Yeah, big time. And then when I finished, I was like, cool, I finished my degree now. Tick, I've got that. I'm going to go traveling and snowboarding. And he's like, I kind of got you a job. Like, you've got to come in for the interview, but it's done. Like, you're going to be an accountant. You pretty much start next week. And I'm like, nah, man, like, I don't want to do this. He's like, come on, you can't let me down. So went to this job interview, met some owners of the accounting firm. And this is what probably changed my perception of what working in an accounting firm was going to be like, or what doing accounting was like. I thought numbers and sitting there. But the job interview, we talked about, would I stick around for a Friday beer, and hang with the team? Do I like football and horse racing? And it was more about social activities and connecting with people. And I was
There's
like,
a relationship element as well.
Correct. And for me, I was like, oh, okay, this actually hits some things that I'm really excited about. I love relationships, love building connections with people. So that for me was like, okay, maybe I will give this accounting thing a go, because it wasn't exactly what I'd imagined it to be, of this sitting there alone, boring, punching numbers into a spreadsheet. And sure enough, over the years and the journey, started doing business education courses, getting involved in communities like Cub. And when you're around other business owners and you can hear their problems, and it might be, a staff problem or a cash flow problem or expansion, like any of the business problems that you have in general, I sat there going, oh, I've got a solution for that. I can help that person. And all of a sudden,
not just me.
Yeah, correct. And but the fire in the belly got lit pretty early on in that accounting journey. I was very fortunate. And I think if you're somebody who enjoys education and hearing public speakers and listening to podcasts, which are more common now than they were all those years ago, but that education piece and that fire in the belly of, I heard people that had problems that needed to be solved. I thought I could help solve them. But at the time when I was in my mid-20s, if I spoke to a business owner in their 30s or 40s or 50s and went, hey, why don't you do this? They're going, what would you know? You're a 25-year-old graduate accountant or junior accountant. You can't help me. So then again, I was like, that determination of going, I'm going to prove these people wrong, right? Like, it doesn't matter if I'm 25 or not. Like, if I've done the work and done the education and can help explore ideas of how, let's say, numbers can empower business decisions, that was a big thing for me. So point of that was the education side. I was very lucky early on to hear some of the best guest speakers in the world. I traveled for these conferences in Bali, where Rob Nixon had a thing called Panalytics, and he'd fly in some of the best presenters in the world. And that, again, just plants the seed of how you then start a business, grow a business. And I think in my late 20s, started a business called RBK. I left a firm called Seva, where Brent Saleh was a mentor and a coach to me. He looked after me when I told him I wanted to be a business owner. He went, there's those people in life where you think that if you tell someone you're going to leave them or you're going to quit the job, some people get the shits and go, oh, well, don't worry about it. This guy was the opposite. He doubled down on me. He invested more in me and went, I need you to know everything you're coming up against when you're going to be a business owner. Get in here under my wing and I'll teach you what you need to know.
See, that's a very important point, that, because I can remember now, I'm entering my 20th year in business, and I used to train people and spend so much of my time grooming them. 5-7 years, they leave for a great opportunity.
Yep.
At the start of my career, it used to hurt so much. Now at this point of my career, you know how proud and happy I am? I go, because I facilitated or played a part in this person's career, in this person's trajectory. When someone comes to me and says, I've been poached, or I've been offered this obscene amount of money, I look at them and I go, I'm so proud of you. If you need anything, let me know. And I always finish up by saying, it's not goodbye, it's until next time. Because our paths will cross again. It might not be in a working sense, it might be in whatever sense, but to have that ability to help someone, inspire them, that's why I love that story, because most people go, damn, they're going to leave. I spent so much time. But the flip side to that coin is you remembering this person, he's helped you, and your career's gone on to great things. And you can look back and go, you know what? Thank you. You're a gentleman.
Correct. And that what you said, until next time, Brent and I get to do amazing work together to this day. 8, 9, nearly 10 years on from when we first met. Might be more than 10 now.
I love that.
And Brent, again, when you look at mentors or coaches or people that have inspired you or changed the direction of your life, Brent was another one beside Greg in this career journey that I'm trying to explain. So when I started RBK and moved on from Brent, who taught me things that I needed to know, Brent was working his way up through the CPA. So CPA in the accounting industry, you're either a CA or a CPA, a couple of others, but they're kind of the major two. Brent was so heavily involved in not only the way he spoke about wanting to ensure business owners did better, because the better our business economy is, the better our whole nation is, the better our jobs are. Everything's better if small business is thriving in Australia. And Brent spoke of this purpose and passion while I worked with him, and I was like, you know what, that's kind of pretty cool. Like this bigger purpose and bigger passion. But what Brent realized, which I love, and now I'm following the same path, is when you run an accounting firm, you might be able to help 300 or 400 business owners. But if you get involved in something like the CPA and you donate your time and work with the CPA to then influence, let's say, 100 accounting firms to be better, and those 100 accounting firms serve
like
300
multi-level marketing.
So I followed in Brent's footsteps, going, I want to be involved in the CPA because I've got a voice that's a little bit different to the standard accounting, maybe the voice of people that have been doing it for 20 or 30 years, who are in their 50s or 60s. Great experience. Like, we've still got heaps that we can get out of learning from people with that experience. But now a voice for the late 20, early 30, mid 30-year-olds who have come up through the more digital and tech environment where everything's in the cloud. Like, I only just remember paper receipts and paper statements from like my first year. And then after that, basically everything was in the cloud. Whereas the other people that have been in the industry for longer, they used to be handed shoe boxes full of crap all the time.
You're very smart and in tune to acknowledge there's a lot to learn here, but I've got to bring it to the digital age. And I own an accountancy firm. It's one of my businesses. And I think I'm qualified to state you're very different to how accountants think. You are very progressive, which is kind of why you scaled your company, which we're going to talk about now too. And you think very different. But I think our mindset's changing. People are adopting different strategies. Everything's going online. It's paperless now. Now, when you go into offices, like you walk into an old accounting firm, an old law firm, they've got all those boxes and those things in the corner. Now people can, what is all that? It's timely. There's mistakes that can be made, but it's slowly coming across. Banking was the same. Everything's changing.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, 100%. And like that digital adoption has been a big part of it. But there's still people that have the shelf full of folders. But I think that's only a matter of time again before we keep progressing, and those businesses will continue to be sold, merged, acquired, and in another 5 or 10 years, the accounting space looks very different. And that's probably one thing that's in like it's very hard to talk to someone who's been doing it one way for 20 years and describe to them the world that I'm imagining in 5 years where AI is doing the bookkeeping. Bookkeeping doesn't exist in a couple of years. And I've seen live proof of how some of the tech's going to work in the background that will come out. But get to that in a minute. End of the story. RBK Advisory was the first accounting firm. Went into that and that grew fast. I mean, Greg and I then met another partner, John Kane. He came on board, which became the K in RBK. He had a boss from way back. His first boss was a guy called Anthony Turner. He decided he wanted to join and he merged his accounting firm in. So it was basically one small parcel merged in, but within 2 or 3 years, we had 3 to 4 million turnover, 30 to 35 team members. We'd started a law firm as well, and we won the Xero Accounting Partner of the Year. So it was just this insane, like scaling fast. And
It's a big accolade to win the Xero. So
Yeah.
many people are on that. That's actually a massive achievement.
Yeah, and
which you backed up as well, didn't you?
Yeah, backed up and did it again in the second accounting firm. And, when one of those things, I'm big on vision, and if you've got a vision board or you set your mind to something, the Xero Accounting Partner of the Year wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate decision to go, I've started an accounting firm. I'm hiring awesome people that I want to be around. I'm going to work with great clients that match our synergies and our values, people that are easygoing, great communicators, want to have a good time. They might want to have a beer with you on a Friday night, social. But then the other part of that was also we want to be recognized for the work we're doing in cloud and technology and digital adoption for our clients, moving them onto Xero, growing the Xero ecosystem. When we won the Xero Accounting Partner of the Year, for me, it was just cool. All the steps I'd put in place to make sure I was being recognized by Xero. Yeah, it was a deliberate plan. And then when at the end of 4 years, we had a business separation, Greg and I and another partner, Shally, went our separate way for a rebrand to become Future Advisory, went back to a team of 12. And it was during COVID. So, quite a difficult thing to do during COVID to call a Zoom meeting with your team and say, hey, we don't work with RBK anymore. We've decided to move and create a bit of a rebrand and a new vision for what we're doing. And, you got 12 people on a call that are shocked going, oh my God, like we're in the middle of COVID and we're going to start a brand new accounting firm, which, we almost joke about we should write a book about that process because when we announced it to the team, it was a Saturday morning and we had to build the whole new accounting firm by Tuesday, I think. So, we're moving 3,000 clients, companies, trusts, individuals, 500 or 400 Xero files, all this data and legacy. And we just got on the phone to our IT and our team and ATO and Xero. And 3 days later,
got it done.
It was a few sleepless nights. Like Greg, Shally, and I were on the phone. Like, Shally's in Perth. But the part for me that I'm probably most proud of in that little part of the journey was the 12 team members that were on the phone on the Zoom that day. We went, hey, if anyone can help, let us know. Every single person was like, it's a Saturday and a Sunday. We don't care. Like, let us know what we can do. And the team rallied together, which is what made it possible to build an entire accounting firm in 3 or 4 days. And I think on the Tuesday morning, we sent an email out to our database saying, delete the RBK email when our Future Advisory, rolled over all the billing and the subscriptions and everything. And
off you go.
Yeah, like a couple of hours later.
That's obviously grown now too.
Yeah. It's 4 years in now. We just had our 4th birthday for Future Advisory. 1 year in, we were again recognized as the Xero Partner of the Year due to the rapid growth again for a brand new firm. Obviously, we had a bit of a system and a process and a bit of a strategy behind us, but we went from 12 to 28 team members again in about a year and a half. So again, it felt like you're onboarding a new team member every month. Sometimes 2 in a week or 3 in a month, which is a lot of fun, a lot of challenges. Be a couple of years on now. I mean, like I love what I get to do. The mix of, working with Xero, which is a great thing that came off the back of winning the Xero Partner of the Year. I got to become part of Xero's Partner Advisory Council. So I sit with the Xero senior leadership team, work with them on, as a bit of, again, a voice for my industry or my profession to say, here's what's working for accountants and bookkeepers and small business owners, but Xero, this is what we need from you. And we test and trial things together.
Of questions, Jess, I wanted to ask you.
No, of course.
And obviously we can speak for hours on this. You've had a very interesting path, which most entrepreneurs do. What are some of the key takeaways and lessons that you learned during that process?
Oof. Yeah, I mean, I think having vision's massive. Like anything that you're getting yourself into, you got to have the vision of why you're doing it and what you're doing it for,
So
and a
purpose.
purpose behind it. Yeah, that purpose. I mean, as I said early on, I didn't want to be an accountant, but once I figured out that accounting was about people and connection and community and what we could do together, all of a sudden the fuel was lit and the vision and the passion was there to try
I
and grow
guess it was
something.
your initial perception of what accounting was to what you were attracted to, and then go, I can be different. I
Yeah.
can use, because you're a very personable guy. Accountants are usually very left brain. They're
Mm.
very different to what you would be. But I think your traditional accountant and your new age accountant is looking very different.
Yep.
A new age, and that's with everything. Because of this technology mindset, because of the speed, the efficiency, AI, people have to think different now. And I think you're probably at the emergence of that.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
So obviously, vision, mission's important. What else for someone that's looking at starting a business? Now, if you were to give them 1 or 2 tips,
Yeah.
what would it be? How to scale that quick, or even get into business?
Mate, well, the number one thing, and I mean, I say it all the time, especially on the Numbers Game podcast with Nick and Marty as well. Like, I always go back to the number one reason a business fails is cash. Cash is king. Everyone knows that saying. So for a small business owner who doesn't know their numbers, that for me is like an area of like real angst. Like a small business or any business owner, any entrepreneur, the number one thing they need to know is their numbers. But it's surprising how many people you'll talk to that you might ask the question, do you have a bit of an estimate of how much money should be in the bank in 3 months? I don't think most people can't answer their expected bank balance in a couple of months. But that drives so many decisions around, can I hire? Can I scale? Should
How
I do
much
the
can
new
I market?
marketing
What can I
campaign?
do?
Yeah, correct.
One of my mentors said that to me. I said, what's the most important thing in running a successful business? Johnny said to me, understanding a balance sheet. I
Yep.
said, if you had one fundamental core competency, core understanding, and I remember it to this day because he was a part of some massive businesses.
Yeah.
He goes, you need to understand the balance sheet, Chris. For me, that was music to my ears. I'm left brain. I love numbers.
Yeah.
And as we said before we press record, it's the oxygen to any business, isn't it? If you don't have the money, how can you execute on your vision and mission?
Yeah. And that's again, when you think about things that drive us to do what we do, for me, a small business owner or an entrepreneur can start a business, register an ABN, set up a company, no experience in running a business at all. They can go open up a bank account. Bank doesn't care, deposit some money in, good to go. But that doesn't mean you're qualified to run a business, right? So if you don't know certain things, you got to hire professionals or get mentors or coaches or whatever else. And your accountant or your advisor that you partner with is going to be one of the biggest and best decisions you can make as a small business or an entrepreneur. That choice of who you partner with can make or break a business. Because you're either
it's the most important part.
Yeah. And that then, as you said before, that understanding of the balance sheet, one of the things I love most, and again, half the time I know I shouldn't even be in the room doing these sessions, but having a business owner sit there and I'll open up the P&L on the balance sheet and then go, do you want to have a chat about how this all works and how it all ties together? Do you understand your net asset position right now? And, you get a bit of the glazed over look, but when the penny or when it drops for them from an education point of view, you go through the P&L, describe some of the things that are cash or accruals, depreciation, income tax, back over to the balance sheet and describe what's happened and how it's all connected. You do this a couple of times. It doesn't always sink in the first time, but you do it a couple of times, and then finally it's like, oh man, I get it.
What a difference.
I get how those numbers all tie together, and the difference between a really successful month or quarter can be a few of these levers that I need to pull to make my business really sing. And it's like, oh, okay, cool, we've got it. Like, let's
to
go.
enjoy them when you get it too. Like I have meetings with I've got a external CFO, I've got an internal accounts department, and I always bring someone in as a second set of eyes, understand the levers you can pull. Where can I make improvements and cost efficiencies?
Yep.
What are my cash flows going in? What are my prices? When have I last reviewed them? There's so many levers you can pull to get to a different outcome.
Yep.
But by understanding those fundamentals, you can say, I need to get 30% here, but I can do it through pulling these 3 levers.
Yep.
Now, I know health is very, very important to you. You've ran quite a few marathons and you continue to do that. Tell me, about your marathons, that you're running with I know it's one of your mentors, friends, partners.
Yeah,
It's with Greg, isn't it?
Yeah, with Greg.
With Greg. And you have a goal to run 6 marathons in
the
six
the
different
6 global major marathons. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that. How do you think that's helped your business life?
Yep. Oh, well, yeah, it's helped immensely, but not necessarily for myself, which is an interesting one. So yeah, the challenge is to do the 6 global majors. I'm 2 down, and I've got a third one, Tokyo, coming up in about 90 days.
Which are the 2 you've done so far?
London earlier this year and Chicago.
How many have you ran? How many marathons have you done
Maybe
so far?
5 or 6.
And your time's getting better every time?
Yeah, it's kind of like 4.5, 4:15, 4, 3:45, and then the goal was kind of 3:30, and then sub 3:30 the next 2. The 3:45 in London, but then Chicago didn't go to plan because I pinched a nerve in my back and then put on about 5 kilos by being an absolute pest. So I say, while I love health, I also sometimes find the balance part can be a little bit out of whack. So, something I'm working on. We always got to know our strengths and our weaknesses. But how it's improved business, brain, decision making actually started with Greg, and back when Future Advisory started, which, is over 4 years ago. Greg was about 20 kilos heavier than he is today. And I called him up. I was in a bit of a rut. We're doing the business, setting up the new business. It was COVID. And I think it was, early October 2020. And I said, mate, we've got to change. Like, this is not good. We need to be better leaders. We need to set a better example. We need to create some new habits and routines, that are they're outside of work, but when we rock up to work, we're going to be better for it.
They overflow him.
Yeah, correct. And we said 20 minutes a day for 20 days that we're going to run. And that was it. And for the next 20 days, we formed a new habit and a new routine. Greg hadn't ran for 6 months, and he went from not running for 6 months to running.
Correctly, he's ran straight for 1,500 days.
He did 1,000 days, ran every day for 1,000 days from that moment.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, so he lost the first 17 or 18 kilos pretty quickly. And then, but for him, he's now almost a sub 3-hour marathon. Like, because he's gotten so laser focused on how.
Can I ask on that? How hard is it to be sub 3-hour marathon runner?
It's the work that goes into that is incredible. Like, his training, his routine, the sessions that he does, like, it goes above and beyond just going out for a jog every morning and,
I'm going to share an incredible story with you when we finish our podcast about marathons.
Yep.
Obviously, so you ran a bunch of marathons with him. It's very, very important. We can talk about health all day. We can talk about now. We'll discuss one more thing. You do run a podcast with Marty and with a mutual friend of ours, Nick, which is Know Your Numbers. Suggest anyone to watch that. It's about understanding business. Tell us a bit about that quickly.
Yep. So the Numbers Game podcast. Again, Nick, Marty, and I. So Nick has a partner of our business, or a referral partner for many businesses, and Marty as well as a bit of a mentor or someone who just loves helping people. We would always get in a room and talk about our mutual clients and the things that they needed. And we'd always be having these like conversations around, numbers, finance, business, investment, getting a loan, buying a property. And was like, well, we can only help so many people if we're doing this one-on-one or one to a couple. So the idea kind of became, imagine we could share this. Yeah, imagine we could share this information with many though. Again, as a business owner, there's only so many people I can help. But when you have a purpose or a passion to empower people to have better futures, that a lot of that comes down to their financial decisions. We don't learn this stuff in school a lot of the time. So there was this bigger picture or bigger purpose to go, if we get together and start a podcast, The Numbers Game, we can share this information that is free, accessible, and anyone can hear it and listen to it.
Not one-to-one, one-to-many.
One-to-many. And at the end of the day, if a few of those people then decided to pick up the phone and call Future Advisory or Innovate on behalf of the Numbers Game podcast, happy days. Did we rely on the income that would generate to have to get up and do that podcast? No, because the bigger purpose or the bigger picture was we wanted to help people. And now we're 217 episodes later, over 3.5 years of religiously recording content. I mean, look, like anything, when you do it, I look back at that first couple of episodes and cringe a little bit, like, oh my God, did we sound like that? What were we doing? And the episode we recorded the other day was the last one for our season. At the moment, I don't even know what season it is anymore. I'm just kind of announcing it.
200 episodes, pretty impressive.
Yeah. So there might be season 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever it is. But I love this episode. So if you're going to ever pick up and go and do an episode, I would say go back to episode 200. We did a live recording where Nick, Marty, and I kind of sit on a little panel and talk. And the 217th episode that'll drop later this year, we look back at our 2024 predictions of what we thought would happen in 2024. We recap it, have a bit of a laugh, and then we make our predictions for 2025. So it's a bit of fun.
Were they?
2024 was about a 50-50. The
you.
example, like Nick thought Elon Musk would go to jail, but he also predicted Trump would become president back in November, December last year. So he had a 50-50, and I said it's
Big calls though.
big calls. Yeah, Nick goes all out. I was more. They didn't rate my predictions. It was, I said Essendon would win a final for the first time in 20-something years, and that was wrong. But I also said that the conversation around AI was already getting some noise back at the end of 2023. My kind of prediction was around by the end of 2024, like AI would be becoming a part of our day-to-day life. It'd be embedding itself in our phones, on our computers, and it'd be just, you couldn't open up something without the little AI dongle being there and being able to click for an AI opinion or
It's
message.
good when you get them right. I remember I made a big prediction, started COVID, and I said, this is going to be the biggest transfer of wealth you see in our lifetime. Now, that remains to be seen because you've got the emergence of AI, but there was a massive transfer of wealth in that period of time.
Big
We
time.
look back over a year, and it's because it's the adoption of digital technology. I think COVID matured the market by about 15 years for people's acceptance, then the emergence of AI. So it's a big things. Looking forward to, can you send us the links of those 2 episodes?
100%.
So look at our comments below and we'll actually attach the 2 episodes that Jason recommends. Watch that. Knowing your numbers is so important if you want to run a good business or if you just love business and money and numbers anyway. Now, as it's a custom in our podcast, our quick 5 questions. Are you ready, Jace?
Ready.
What was your proudest accomplishment?
Professionally, Xero Accounting Partner of the Year. It was a big thing that I set out to achieve, and got there.
Personally?
Personally, look, I think that first marathon,
I thought you were gonna say
like across the line in tears. My mum had passed away earlier that year, and I did 150 days alcohol free before then doing my first ever marathon. And I didn't come from a background of running or fitness in that way. I'd always like try to have that balance, but crossed the line, burst into tears, thought of mum, and it was a big moment. I always look back to and go, cool, like that was a bit of a game changer for me.
That only 1% of people have completed marathons. One of my guests told me.
Yeah.
What book or movie has had the biggest impact on you?
Oh, good one. I think Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill. I just think that burning desire kind of methodology or brain, like if you want something bad enough and you can think about it enough and make it part of your subconscious mind, that for me's just always hung around from the first time I read that book. And notable mentions might be 7 Habits by Stephen Covey and Rich Dad Poor Dad again from
Robert
someone
Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki. If you the know your numbers element.
Napoleon Hill, The Think and Grow Rich, is also, they've turned it into a short movie as well, which is good, and I recommend people to watch as well.
Done. I'll put that on the list.
What's your favorite way to learn new things?
I think for me, the ability to digest content on podcasts. I mean, it wouldn't be without doing a podcast plug. That aside, I think it's also just being with other people. I'm a connector of people. I love being around people. Nick Riley again was someone who entered my career very early on through an introduction from a guy called Julian Muldoon. And when I think about all these little chance meetings, these pieces have bolted together to get me to where I am today, which I feel would be ahead. I'm ahead of where I should be without having had those meetings.
I don't think they were chance. It's when preparation meets opportunity, when preparation meets here.
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated during tough times?
The big picture, what I'm working towards, the day-to-day stuff, it's always going to get hard. And if you get yourself bogged down in the day-to-day, you'll never break through it and be able to focus on the big picture.
If you could relive any moment in your life, what would it be?
Without getting emotional, the last time I saw my mum.
What is your favorite place to find inspiration?
Out running. Yeah, I just think there's a piece to meditative running.
What do you value most about friendship?
Connection.
And what's your biggest challenge you've overcome?
I think the business separation or starting a new business in the middle of COVID has to be one of the most challenging things ever.
What's one thing you wish people asked more about you?
How are you?
So just chit chat, general
Yeah.
mental health, well-being, how you going?
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah.
People, it gets
time.
lost in today's age because it's so
Yeah.
fast.
Correct.
What's your favorite way to give back to the community?
Sharing knowledge.
You seem that way, especially with your podcast. It's a very big way to think.
Yeah.
And people don't realize doing a podcast, if you're not doing it for money, it costs time, money, if you're going to put a production together. So people that genuinely do it from the bottom of their heart. When I started this podcast, I usually do everything with a purpose. The purpose for this podcast was to share information and to give people knowledge. There was no purpose, I'm doing this to drive an outcome, sales, or it was just exactly what you described, which is really cool when I heard you say too.
Cool synergies.
What's your biggest fear and how do you face it?
Biggest fear is definitely becoming unwell and not able to achieve the goals and things that I set out in life. I think having lost people around me at younger ages, I've got a lot that I want to achieve. So I think, not getting sick and not letting myself, so there's things you can do, look after your health and, get regular checks.
Which is why you run so much and you talk about health. What's your go-to technique when you're really stressed?
Something simple like box breathing, like just being able to like separate yourself out and calm back down. Box breathing technique is absolutely, a piece of piss. And it's
how do you push through self-doubt?
Having good people around you that understand you and that you can bounce off them. And when you're in a bit of a rut, the person that you call who's going to take you out of that.
You mentioned that a few times. You've mentioned people you call, you've mentioned mentors, and a lot of your friends and mentors are actually people that I use as well, which is great.
Yeah.
Last question, from a scale of 1 to 10, how much have you enjoyed being on our podcast?
10.
Jason, it's always been a pleasure. I've known you for a few years. I can see why you run a progressive business. Look forward to having you on the show again. Thank you very much for another episode of Relentless.